welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a role that's really foundational in business and tech, but it's one that's surprisingly misunderstood, I think. The business analyst.
That's definitely true. Foundational, but often blurry around the edges for many people.
Exactly. So our mission here is to really unpack what a BA actually does. Why are they so critical, especially now? And, what's their day-to-day really like?
We're pulling from some great sources, including the BABOK guide.
The official guide, yeah.
Think of this as your shortcut, basically. A way to get clarity on the role, its impact, and maybe uncover some surprising insights along the way.
And it's important to get that clarity because, like you said, this role is way more complex, more strategic than people often give it credit for. It's so much more than just gathering requirements. That phrase just doesn't capture it. Understanding this role properly, it's valuable for pretty much anyone in the business world today, whether you work with BAs, want to be one, or just want to grasp how organizations actually, change and deliver stuff that works. Okay, let's unpack that then. You said it's misunderstood. What's the most common misconception, and how does the official definition kind of cut through that?
Great question. I think the biggest misconception is that they're just scribes, right? Order takers. Someone says, I want this, and the BA writes it down.
Passive.
Exactly. But the BABOK guide, the one from the IIBA, defines a business analyst as a practitioner who enables change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders.
Okay. Enables change, defines needs, delivers value. Those are like active verbs.
Very active. They're the bridge, really, between what the business wants to achieve, the vision, and the, let's say, technical reality of building something. They help organizations figure out what they truly need, not just what they initially ask for, and ensure the solution actually solves the right problem and gives real value back.
So less order taker, more. Change enabler, value driver. What's the core purpose defined in the BABOK guide then? Does it echo that?
It absolutely does. The core purpose is stated as the practice of enabling change in an organizational context by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders.
Okay, same key phrases again.
Right. It really boils down to those three things: enabling change, defining needs, and delivering value. It means the BA isn't just documenting, they're investigating, analyzing, translating, sometimes challenging assumptions.
Challenging.
Sure. Digging deeper than the surface request, guiding stakeholders towards solutions that create real transformation, not just, papering over cracks. They're change agents.
That really flips the script on that order taker idea. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, because the sources, especially BABOK, break down how they do this into 6 core knowledge areas. It's like a roadmap for enabling change. So, where do they start on that map?
Well, they start with business analysis, planning, and monitoring. This is sort of the setup phase. Here, the BA figures out the scope of the analysis work itself. Who do I need to talk to? How am I going to get the information? What techniques make sense for this project? And importantly, how will we know if the business analysis work itself is effective? Planning the BA's own work.
Okay. So it's like planning the investigation before you start investigating. Like if you're doing that big banking software upgrade we mentioned earlier, this is where you decide, are we doing interviews, workshops, maybe shadowing people, that kind of thing.
Exactly that. Setting the stage for success.
Okay, so plan is in place. How do they actually start getting the information, the requirements?
That brings us to the second area, elicitation and collaboration. This is where the interaction really happens. It involves preparing for those sessions, interviews, workshops, whatever was planned, then actually conducting them to draw out the information. Critically, it also involves confirming and validating what they heard.
It sounds like more than just asking questions.
Oh, it is. It's an art. You need to build rapport, ask the right questions, listen actively, and often read between the lines. Think about talking to loan officers. You need to understand not just what they do, but how and why they assess applications. What are the nuances? And then document those needs clearly so you can build, say, an automated system that actually helps them. Sometimes you uncover needs they didn't even realize they had.
Well, yeah. That sounds like it could generate a lot of information. Requirements, needs, ideas. How do they keep track of all that? Does it just become a massive list?
Good point. That leads straight into requirements lifecycle management. This is crucial. It's about managing each requirement from the moment it's identified all the way through implementation and beyond. So tracing it, making sure it stays accurate, prioritizing it because you can't do everything at once, getting formal sign-offs, and managing any changes.
So it's like being a guardian for each requirement.
Kind of, yeah. You're ensuring its integrity throughout the whole process. Take that fraud detection feature example. This area means tracking how that idea evolves, how it's specified, built, tested, and making sure the final thing matches the original approved need. Traceability is key.
Got it. Okay, so that handles the specific requirements. But you mentioned BAs can be strategic. How does that fit in? Do they get involved in like company direction?
They absolutely can and often should. That's strategy analysis. This is a much higher level view. It involves looking at the business environment, competitors, market trends, regulations, assessing the company's own strengths and weaknesses, identifying problems or, importantly, opportunities, and then, based on all that, recommending strategic changes or investments.
So this is where they step beyond a single project.
Definitely. They're contributing to the why behind the projects. An example. Maybe analyzing competitor apps and customer feedback leads the BA to recommend the whole company shift towards a mobile-first digital strategy. It's about connecting the dots at a strategic level.
That's a big leap from just documenting screen fields.
It is. It shows the potential breadth of the role.
Okay, so strategy informs things, requirements are gathered and managed. What about turning those requirements into, well, a solution? How did that translation happen?
That's the core of requirements analysis and design definition. This is where the BA gets really specific. They take the elicited needs and specify them in detail, often using models like diagrams or process flows. They verify them. Are these requirements correct? And validate them. Will these requirements meet the business need? Then they define potential solution options and assess which one offers the best value before development kicks off.
Right, making it concrete, like designing that new claims processing workflow for an insurance company, specifying exactly how it should work to achieve that goal, like cutting processing time by 30%. It's the blueprint stage.
Precisely. It's translating the what and why into a detailed how.
And after the solution is built and launched, is the BA's job done?
Not necessarily. The final knowledge area is solution evaluation. This is about looking at the solution once it's live and working. Did it actually deliver the promised value? Is it performing as expected? Based on that evaluation, the BA recommends actions, maybe tweaks, enhancements, or even decommissioning if it's not working out.
Closing the loop.
Exactly. It ensures accountability and continuous improvement. So, for that CRM system example, did it actually increase customer retention like we hoped? If not, why? And what can we adjust? It validates the whole effort.
Okay, those 6 areas paint a really comprehensive picture. Planning, eliciting, managing, strategizing, designing, evaluating. So what does this actually look like on a typical day? I mean, BAs don't just sit and think about knowledge areas. What are they doing?
No, definitely not. The day-to-day is much more dynamic, and yeah, it varies a lot based on the project type, agile, waterfall, something in between. But generally, a morning might start with a daily stand-up if it's agile, or maybe a project status meeting. Checking in, seeing what's happening, identifying blockers. There's almost always stakeholder communication, emails, calls, quick chats to clarify things, maybe scheduling upcoming workshops.
Lots of talking to people.
A lot of talking to people. Then midday might be focused on those elicitation sessions we talked about. Running a workshop, conducting interviews with subject matter experts, maybe facilitating a JAD session, that deep dive work. Alongside that, or maybe after, comes the modeling and documentation. Creating process maps, wireframes for user interfaces, writing user stories, maybe working on a formal business requirements document or BRD.
Turning the conversation into something tangible.
Exactly. Then the afternoon often involves collaboration with the technical teams, talking to developers about requirements, clarifying things for testers, maybe working with the product owner to refine the backlog. And usually there's some review and validation mixed in, showing mock-ups or documents back to stakeholders to make sure everyone's still aligned. It's very iterative.
Wow, that sounds intense and varied. It seems like you need a pretty specific skill set to juggle all of that effectively. What does the IIBA core competency model say are the essentials?
It definitely requires a blend of skills. Analytical thinking and problem solving are right at the top. You have to be able to break down complexity. Then there are behavioral characteristics, things like ethics, trustworthiness, personal accountability. You're often handling sensitive info and mediating between groups.
Makes sense.
Business knowledge is key, obviously. You need to understand the context you're working in. Communication skills are huge: verbal, nonverbal, written. You're constantly translating between different audiences. Interaction skills, too, things like facilitation, negotiation, leadership, teamwork. Getting people to consensus isn't always easy.
Negotiation. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Prioritizing requirements often involves negotiation. And finally, proficiency with software and tools is increasingly vital. Things like Jira or Azure DevOps for tracking work, Confluence for documentation, maybe Visio or Balsamic for modeling and mockups. The right tools help manage the complexity.
That is quite a range from strategic thinking down to specific tool proficiency. Which brings up a really important point in today's world, agile. How does this traditional BA role fit into agile environments? Does it fundamentally change?
It adapts, definitely. It becomes, I'd say, even more collaborative and integrated. In many agile teams, the BA might act as a sort of proxy for the product owner, or work very closely supporting them. The tasks become more focused on the iterative cycle. So, writing really clear user stories and acceptance criteria becomes critical. That's how developers know what to build sprint by sprint.
Right, defining the what in small chunks.
Exactly. They're active participants in sprint planning, deciding what the team can tackle. They're in the retrospectives, helping the team improve. They're constantly involved in backlog grooming, refining, and prioritizing upcoming work. The focus is always on ensuring the backlog reflects the highest business value right now. So the BA is embedded, constantly clarifying, constantly ensuring alignment.
So less about massive upfront documentation, more about continuous clarification and value steering.
That's a great way to put it, continuous clarification.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around this. What's the big picture takeaway? We've seen a business analyst isn't just a note taker. They're fundamentally a change enabler, someone who bridges that critical gap between what the business needs and what technology can deliver.
Right. It's about identifying the real need, not just the stated want.
And their work spans everything from high-level strategy analysis down to the nitty-gritty of requirement definition and solution design, plus evaluating if it all worked out. Those 6 BABOK knowledge areas give us a great framework for understanding that scope.
Planning, elicitation, lifecycle management, strategy, analysis and design, and evaluation.
Yeah. And their daily life reflects that breadth. Lots of talking, listening, analyzing, documenting, collaborating, validating. Needing that mix of sharp analytical skills, strong people skills, business understanding, and even tool knowledge.
What's really fascinating, I think, is just how vital this role is for organizations that genuinely want to deliver value. It's not just about activity, about building something. It's about building the right thing, the thing that solves a real problem or captures a real opportunity. That's where the BA makes the difference.
That's a powerful point.
Yeah.
So for you, the listener, maybe thinking about this BA role isn't just about understanding a job title. It's about understanding how effective change actually happens inside organizations, how ideas turn into real value, how different groups, different perspectives get aligned, which maybe raises a question for you to think about. In your own work or even your daily life, where do you see those gaps? Where is there a need for someone, maybe even you, to step in, bridge that gap, define the real need, and act as that change agent to deliver value, even without the official business analyst title?